The galactic year 2457 marked the darkest hour for the 17 species united under the Galactic Coalition banner. For over 80 years, they had fought against the ruthless Drac Empire, a species driven by conquest and subjugation. Now, despite their combined technological might, defeat seemed inevitable. The Coalition flagship Eternal Light emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. On the command deck, Admiral Kim stood with hands clasped behind his back, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of Earth on the view screen. He had lived for 300 years, but never had he been forced to beg help from a species considered barely spacefaring. "Are we certain about this?" asked his second-in-command. "These humans have barely colonized their own system. What can they possibly offer against the Drac weapons?" Admiral Kim sighed. "The Council has exhausted all options. 7 Coalition worlds fell last month alone. The humans are our last hope, however slim." As their ship approached Earth's orbital defense ring, something unexpected happened. Their communications array detected energy signatures far beyond what should exist for a Level 3 civilization. Then came the scan. A sweep of energy so precise and powerful it mapped their entire vessel down to the molecular level in seconds. "Unknown vessel approaching Coalition flagship," announced a calm human voice over their comms. "Please identify yourselves." The Coalition delegation was escorted to Earth's orbital command, a structure that appeared modest from outside, but revealed itself as a technological marvel within. They were led to a conference room where 5 humans waited. Director Lee, ADY, woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that seemed to evaluate everything with scientific precision, rose to greet them. "Welcome to Earth, Admiral Kim. We've been expecting you." "Expecting?" Kim stuttered, his carefully prepared speech forgotten. "How could you possibly—" "We detected your conflict 70 years ago," said Commander Bay, a broad-shouldered man whose relaxed posture couldn't hide his military bearing. "Our deep space monitoring systems picked up the energy signatures of your battles." Admiral Kim felt a chill. Earth shouldn't have technology capable of detecting events hundreds of light years away. The implications were staggering. "We've come to formally request Earth's assistance in our war against the Drac Empire," Kim finally managed. "They've conquered half the galaxy and will reach your world within 5 years. While your technology is limited, we believe your species' resourcefulness might provide some advantage." The humans exchanged glances that Kim couldn't interpret. Director Lee smiled politely. "Perhaps we should show you something, Admiral," she said, gesturing toward a viewing platform. "It might adjust your expectations of what Earth can offer." They were led to a massive observation deck overlooking Earth's moon. At first, Kim saw nothing unusual, just the cratered surface he'd seen in their approach. Then Director Lee pressed a sequence on her wristband. The moon's surface rippled like water. Enormous sections began to shift and separate, revealing what lay beneath. A vast construction yard extending deep into the lunar interior. Massive warships, unlike anything in Coalition records, were being assembled by automated systems. The vessels featured no visible engines or conventional weapons, yet radiated power that made the Admiral's skin tingle even at this distance. "We've been building these since we first detected the Drac 50 years ago," Commander Bay explained, casually. "This is just one of 7 construction facilities." Admiral Kim struggled to maintain his diplomatic composure. "But your civilization shows no signs of this level of technology. Your commercial ships, your planetary defense systems, they're all consistent with early interplanetary development." Director Lee nodded. "A deliberate choice. Humanity learned long ago that appearing harmless has strategic advantages. We developed in secret, watching the galaxy, learning." "How many ships can you commit to our defense?" asked Kim's second-in-command, finding her voice. 37 should be sufficient," replied Commander Bay. The Coalition delegates exchanged alarmed glances. The Drac Armada numbered in the thousands. "That would be inadequate," Kim said diplomatically. "Perhaps you don't understand the scale of the threat." Director Lee's expression remained calm. "We understand perfectly, Admiral. 37 is all that will be needed. We've spent decades studying the Drac, their technology, their tactics. We know exactly how to counter them." As the implications sank in, Admiral Kim realized humanity had been hiding in plain sight, not a primitive species on the galaxy's edge, but something far more advanced and far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. And now, after years of secret preparation, they were ready to reveal themselves. "When can your fleet be ready?" Kim asked quietly. "They already are," Director Lee answered. "We've been ready for years, Admiral. We were just waiting for someone to ask for help." 3 days after their shocking introduction to Earth's secret military capabilities, Admiral Kim and his delegation found themselves aboard a sleek transport vessel heading toward Jupiter's orbit. Director Lee had insisted they witness the fleet mobilization firsthand, though Kim suspected it was also a calculated display of power. "We're approaching the staging area," announced their pilot, a young woman named Officer Song who handled the advanced ship with casual expertise. Through the viewport, Jupiter's massive form dominated the view, its swirling storms casting shadows across the gas giant's surface. But it wasn't the planet that caught their attention. It was what awaited them in the space beyond. "There's nothing here," muttered Kim's science officer, checking his scanning equipment with a frown. Officer Song smiled. "Wait for it." She pressed a sequence on her control panel, and suddenly the space before them shimmered. Massive structures began to appear where empty space had been moments before. Orbital platforms larger than coalition battle stations, arranged in a perfect defensive formation around a central command hub. "Optical camouflage?" asked Kim, trying to understand how they had hidden such massive structures. "Not exactly," replied Commander Bay, who had joined them for this tour. "We don't bend light around our ships. We place them slightly out of phase with regular space-time. They exist in what we call a dimensional pocket, present but untouchable until we bring them fully into this reality." As they watched, the platforms began to transform. Sections unfolded with mathematical precision, components shifting and locking into new configurations. What had appeared to be stationary defense platforms were becoming warships of impossible scale and design. Their transport docked with the central command vessel, now fully materialized and revealing itself as a ship at least 5 times larger than the coalition flagship. Inside, they were escorted through corridors lined with technology that made Admiral Kim's senior engineer stop repeatedly in stunned silence. They entered the command center, a vast chamber dominated by a 3-dimensional tactical display showing the entire solar system in perfect detail. Fleet Commander Park stood waiting, a tall woman with short gray hair whose posture reflected decades of military service. "Welcome aboard the Earth Fleet vessel Decisive Action," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting custom. "This will be our command ship for the operation." "These vessels," Admiral Kim began, struggling to find diplomatic words. "They're unlike anything in recorded galactic history. How did you develop this technology in isolation?" Commander Park gestured to the tactical display. "We were never truly isolated, Admiral. We've been listening to the galaxy for centuries, learning from everyone else's mistakes. When we detected the Drac weapon signatures 70 years ago, we realized conventional defense would be useless." One of the coalition scientists pointed to strange devices lining the ship's hull on the display. "These aren't weapons I recognize." "Because they're not weapons in the conventional sense," explained Chief Engineer Han, a quiet man who had joined them from one of the engineering decks. "We don't fire projectiles or energy beams. Our primary systems manipulate fundamental forces: gravity, electromagnetic fields, and quantum states." He gestured to another section of the display. "This system, for instance, can create localized distortions in space-time that tear enemy ships apart without firing a single shot. And our defensive fields don't block attacks. They redirect the energy into parallel dimensions where it can do no harm." Admiral Kim felt a chill run down his spine. "If you've had this technology all along, why haven't you joined the Galactic's community? Shared your advances?" The human leaders exchanged glances that seemed to contain an entire silent conversation. "History has taught us caution," Commander Park finally said. "On Earth, when cultures with vastly different technology levels meet, it rarely ends well for the less advanced group. We chose to develop in secret until we were certain we could protect ourselves." As they toured the massive vessel, the Coalition delegation witnessed technologies that defied explanation. Engines that didn't propel the ship through space, but instead moved space around the ship. Sensors that could detect ships on the other side of the galaxy. Crew quarters with artificial gravity so perfect it felt like standing on a planet. In the tactical center, they watched a simulation of the planned battle against the Drac fleet. The Coalition tacticians grew increasingly uneasy as they realized the humans planned to directly confront the enemy's main force, a suicide mission by any conventional assessment. This approach violates every principle of space warfare, protested the Coalition's senior military advisor. You're outnumbered 30-1. Your formation offers no defensive coverage. You're practically announcing your arrival. That's exactly what we're doing, confirmed Commander Park calmly. The Drac need to see us coming. But why? Asked Admiral Kim. Because they need to concentrate their forces, she replied. Our technology works most efficiently when their ships are grouped together. Spreading them out would actually make our job harder. As the implications sank in, the Coalition representatives began to understand the true extent of Earth's power. These weren't ships designed to fight a war. They were ships designed to end one in a single stroke. Later, as they returned to their transport, Admiral Kim pulled Director Lee aside. Your people have prepared for this moment for decades, he said quietly. Why wait until we asked for help? Why not confront the Drac years ago? Director Lee's expression turned solemn. Because once we reveal ourselves, nothing in the galaxy will be the same. We needed to be certain this was the right moment. And frankly, Admiral, we needed to be sure about you and the Coalition as well. And are you? Sure about us? She smiled slightly. We'll find out together, won't we? The Coalition War Council chamber aboard their flagship Eternal Light had never seemed so small. Designed to accommodate representatives from 17 species, today it was filled beyond capacity as human officers joined the emergency session. The massive holographic display in the center showed the advancing Drac Armada, thousands of warships moving relentlessly toward Coalition space. Admiral Kim stood at the head of the curved table, his usually stoic expression unable to hide his concern. As you can see, the Drac have committed their entire fleet to this push. Intelligence suggests they plan to strike our core worlds within 15 days. Murmurs of despair rippled through the alien representatives. The Coalition's remaining fleet numbered barely 200 vessels, many damaged from previous battles. Commander Park rose from her seat among the human delegation. Unlike the Coalition officers with their ornate uniforms and rank insignia, she wore a simple gray jumpsuit with only a small Earth emblem on the shoulder. May I? She asked, gesturing toward the display controls. Admiral Kim nodded, stepping aside as Commander Park approached the holographic projection. With a few quick gestures, she manipulated the display to show a different star system, seemingly empty space far from any habitable worlds. The Cassiopean Drift, she explained. We will engage the Drac here, 3 days from now. The Coalition tactical officer, a tall reptilian named General Taz, scoffed audibly. That's nowhere near their projected course. They have no reason to detour to that empty system. They will, Commander Park replied simply, because we're going to invite them. The chamber erupted in confused protests. Commander Park waited, patiently until Admiral Kim called for order. Explain, he said. Commander Park manipulated the display again, showing 37 small points of light. Earth's fleet, positioned in the center of the Cassiopean Drift. We will broadcast our position openly. The Drac believe themselves invincible. When they detect a small fleet apparently foolish enough to challenge them, they'll commit fully to our destruction. That's not a strategy, growled General Taz. That's suicide. Chief Strategist Han, another member of the Earth delegation, stood. Unlike Commander Park's calm demeanor, his energy was palpable as he addressed the council. With respect, General, you're thinking in terms of conventional warfare, ships firing at each other until one side can't fight anymore. That's not how this battle will unfold. He took over the display controls, zooming in on one of Earth's vessels. Our ships don't carry traditional weapons. They carry systems that manipulate reality itself. The hologram expanded to show complex diagrams that few in the room understood. This is our primary system, what we call the causality inversion field. Once activated, it creates a localized temporal distortion that retroactively prevents objects from existing in that space. Blank stares met his explanation until a coalition scientist spoke up. You're suggesting you can erase ships from existence? That's theoretically impossible. Theoretically, yes, agreed Chief Strategist Han. Practically, we've been doing it for decades in controlled tests. The physics are complex, but the outcome is simple. What exists now never existed at all. Admiral Kim leaned forward, his voice cautious. And you believe this field can eliminate the entire Drac fleet? When properly calibrated, yes, Commander Park answered. But we need them concentrated in a predictable location, hence the trap. The Coalition War Council exploded into arguments. Some representatives demanded more conventional approaches involving their own fleet. Others questioned whether Earth's technology was real or elaborate deception. A few simply sat in stunned silence. During the chaos, a small Coalition intelligence officer approached Admiral Kim and whispered something in his ear. The Admiral's eyes widened. Silence, he commanded, his voice cutting through the noise. I've just received word that our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual energy signatures from Earth's lunar bases. Massive power buildups consistent with their claimed technology. He turned to Commander Park. You're already preparing, aren't you? This briefing is merely a courtesy. Commander Park nodded once. We began mobilization the moment we agreed to help. The Drac won't wait for us to achieve consensus. General, Taz slammed his scaled fist on the table. This is unacceptable. We can't trust the fate of the Coalition to untested weapons and 37 ships. Would you prefer to trust it to your 200 conventional vessels against their thousands? Asked Chief Strategist Han quietly. The room fell silent. Commander Park pulled up another display, a simulation showing the battle as Earth's forces predicted it. The engagement will last approximately 90 seconds from start to finish. The Drac fleet will cease to exist without a single Coalition world being threatened. And if you fail? Asked a Coalition diplomat. Then your conventional fleet remains as your final defense, she replied. You lose nothing by allowing us to try. Admiral Kim studied the human officers carefully. Their confidence wasn't bravado or foolishness. It was the calm certainty of people who knew exactly what their technology could achieve. There's something I don't understand, said Admiral Kim, breaking the tense silence. If your technology is this powerful, why haven't you used it before? Why wait until now, when so many worlds have already fallen? Commander Park's expression softened slightly. Because once we reveal this capability, the galaxy changes forever. Knowledge that such technology exists can't be undone. We needed to be certain this was the only option. As the meeting continued deep into the night, Coalition representatives gradually moved from outright rejection to cautious acceptance. They had no better plan and time was running out. Near the end, a junior Coalition officer raised the question many were thinking. After this is over, if you succeed, what will Earth want in return? Commander Park exchanged glances with her colleagues before answering. Only what we've always wanted, peaceful coexistence and the right to determine our own future. Earth has no desire for conquered worlds or subjugated peoples. As the council session finally adjourned, Admiral Kim found himself wondering whether the galaxy was about to be saved, or whether it was witnessing the emergence of something even more powerful than the Drac, a species that had hidden its true nature from the universe until the perfect moment to reveal itself. The waiting was the hardest part. On the observation deck of the Earth flagship Decisive Action, Admiral Kim stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the stars. The Cassiopeian drift stretched before them, a vast region of space filled with cosmic dust and the remnants of ancient stars, beautiful, empty, and soon to be a battlefield. They've taken the bait, announced Commander Park as she entered the observation deck. Though her voice remained professional, There was an undercurrent of tension even the disciplined officer couldn't hide. "Drac fleet has changed course. All ships. They're coming." Admiral Kim nodded slowly. 3 days earlier, Earth had broadcast an open challenge across all frequencies. A simple message identifying themselves as humanity and demanding the Drac fleet meet them here, away from populated systems. It had been a gamble. The Drac might have ignored it completely. "How long?" he asked. 2 hours until their vanguard arrives. 4 hours until their main force is in position." Commander Park joined him at the viewport. "We've moved the Earth fleet into final formation." Through the massive windows, Admiral Kim could see the 37 human vessels arranged in a perfect geometric pattern that seemed to follow some mathematical principle his species had never discovered. The ships were dark, absorbing rather than reflecting light, making them look like holes cut from the fabric of space itself. Behind him, the doors opened again as Coalition observers filed onto the deck. Earth had allowed representatives from each Coalition species to witness the battle, though many had declined, preferring to be with their own fleets in case Earth's plan failed. "Is it true?" asked one of the Coalition scientists, his multiple eyes blinking nervously. "Your ships haven't powered weapon systems or raised shields?" "We don't use those technologies," replied Chief Engineer Han, who had accompanied the observers. "Our systems remain in standby until needed." The Coalition military attaché snorted. "Standby? You're facing the largest battle fleet ever assembled in galactic history, and your defense systems are in standby?" Engineer Han smiled slightly. "Activation takes less than 1 second. Any earlier would be a waste of energy." As the observation deck filled, tactical displays showed the approaching Drac Armada. Their ships moved in their characteristic formation, a massive sphere of destroyer-class vessels surrounding the heavier battleships, with their command vessels protected in the center. It was a formation that had crushed countless Coalition fleets. "Look at the size of that thing," whispered one Coalition officer. "Must be 5,000 ships at least." 5,312, corrected the tactical officer monitoring the displays, "including support vessels." "Admiral," Kim turned to Commander Park. "Your fleet isn't moving to defensive positions. They're still in that same pattern." "The pattern is important," she replied. "The geometry creates resonance points that amplify our field generators." Hours passed in tense silence. The Drac Vanguard arrived first, scout ships and fast attack vessels probing ahead of the main fleet. They approached cautiously, as if confused by the lack of defensive posturing from the human ships. "They're scanning us," reported the communications officer. Heavy signals across all bands. On the main viewer, they watched as the first wave of Drac ships completed their sweep and reported back to their fleet. Within minutes, the main Drac force accelerated, abandoning caution. They clearly believed they faced a minor threat they could quickly overwhelm. "They're launching fighters," called out an officer as thousands of small craft poured from the larger Drac vessels. Commander Park remained calm, right on schedule. The observation deck grew crowded as off-duty crew members slipped in, everyone wanting to witness history. The massive Drac fleet filled the view screens now, their black and red ships resembling a swarm of insects as they moved into attack formation. The disparity in forces was staggering. Thousands of enemy vessels against 37 human ships that weren't even moving to defend themselves. "Drac command ship is broadcasting," announced the communications officer. "Let's hear it," ordered Commander Park. A harsh, guttural voice filled the deck. The translator system struggled for a moment before converting the Drac language. "Attention, human vessels. Your species is unknown to us. Your challenge is acknowledged. Prepare for eradication. There will be no survivors." Commander Park exchanged a glance with Admiral Kim before tapping her communication panel. "Drac Command, this is Commander Park of Earth. We've studied your campaigns against the Coalition. Your tactics are predictable. Your technology is unimpressive. Your extinction begins today." Several Coalition observers gasped at the boldness of the response. The Drac, known for their overwhelming aggression, would not take such an insult lightly. The response was immediate. The entire Drac fleet accelerated, weapon systems powering up across thousands of ships. Enemy weapons, hot, multiple targeting. Locks on all our vessels, called out the tactical officer. Coalition observers tensed, some instinctively ducking despite being safely aboard the command ship. Years of warfare against the Drac had conditioned them to fear what came next. Commander. Park stood straight, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Time to intercept? 45 seconds until their forward elements are in weapons range, reported the tactical officer. She nodded and pressed a button on her wrist communicator. All Earth vessels. This is Commander Park. Prepare for protocol sunburst on my mark. Throughout the observation deck, the mood shifted. Coalition observers looked at each other in confusion, while human crew members seemed to hold their breath in anticipation. 30 seconds to weapons range, announced the tactical officer. Commander Park turned to Admiral Kim. Admiral, you might want to tell your people to prepare themselves. The transition can be disorienting for those experiencing it for the first time. Transition? He asked, but she had already turned back to the viewport. 15 seconds, called the tactical officer. On the displays, the Drac fleet's forward elements had their weapons at full power, ready to unleash their first devastating volley. Commander Park's voice was calm and clear as she gave the order. All ships, initiate protocol sunburst. Activate now. The human vessels began to glow with a soft blue light that quickly intensified. Admiral Kim felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was becoming thin, stretched like fabric about to tear. 5 seconds to enemy weapons range, announced the tactical officer, his voice tight. Commander Park simply nodded. Right on time. The entire observation deck went silent as the blue glow from Earth's ships intensified. Admiral Kim felt a wave of dizziness wash over him, a strange sensation like the universe was holding its breath. The coalition observers around him swayed on their feet, some grabbing nearby rails for support. Only the human crew seemed prepared for the effect, standing firm with expressions of intense concentration. On the tactical display, the Drac fleet's forward elements were milliseconds from firing range. Their weapons burned hot, ready to unleash destruction on the seemingly defenseless human ships. The readouts showed energy levels climbing as thousands of weapons prepared to fire simultaneously. Then it happened. There was no explosion, no dramatic flash of light, no thunderous sound of battle. Instead, a ripple moved through space itself, visible as a subtle distortion like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The ripple expanded outward from the human fleet in a perfect sphere, accelerating as it went. It passed through the observation deck, causing everyone to shudder involuntarily. And then, nothing. Where the massive Drac armada had been moments before, 5,000 warships poised to attack, there was only empty space. Stars shone unobstructed against the black backdrop of the cosmos. The dust clouds of the Cassiopean drifted peacefully, undisturbed by any vessels. What? Admiral Kim struggled to form words, his mind refusing to process what his eyes were seeing. Where did they go? The coalition observers erupted in confused chatter. Some ran to the viewports, pressing their faces against the transparent material, as if a closer look might reveal the missing fleet. Others demanded explanations from nearby human crew members. Commander Park stood calmly at the center of the chaos, reviewing data on her tablet. After confirming the readings, she tapped her communication badge. All ships stand down from protocol sunburst. Return to standard operations. The blue glow faded from the human vessels, and the strange feeling of unreality gradually subsided. Admiral Kim found his voice again. Commander Park, he said, fighting to keep his tone even. I believe you owe us an explanation. She nodded once, then gestured to Chief Engineer Han, who stepped forward with his own data tablet. The temporal displacement field worked exactly as designed, Han explained, showing Admiral Kim the readings. The effect spread throughout the target area and successfully removed the Drac fleet from our timeline. Removed? Repeated a coalition scientist, pushing forward through the crowd. You mean you destroyed them? Engineer Han shook his head. Not exactly. Destruction implies they existed and then ceased to exist. What our technology does is more fundamental. From the perspective of our universe, those ships never arrived at this location. They never existed here at all. That's... The scientist's multiple eyes blinked rapidly in confusion. That's not possible. Yet you witnessed it, Commander Park said simply. A coalition tactical officer frantically worked his scanning equipment. I'm not detecting debris fields, radiation signatures, escape pods, nothing. 5,000 ships don't just disappear. They didn't disappear, corrected Engineer Han patiently. They never were, at least not in this version of reality. Admiral Kim stared out at the empty space where moments ago the most powerful fleet in galactic history had been preparing to attack. Where did they go? To another dimension? Another timeline? Commander Park exchanged glances with her fellow officers before answering carefully. We don't know for certain. Our theories suggest they may exist in a parallel reality now, one that branched from ours at the moment we activated the field, or they may have been scattered across multiple potential timelines, their existence diluted across infinite possibilities until they effectively ceased to be. You don't know? Admiral Kim was incredulous. You deployed a weapon that removes things from existence and you don't know where they go? We know the effect, Commander Park replied calmly. The ships are gone. The threat is neutralized, without harming any coalition worlds or causing collateral damage. Isn't that what matters most? Silence fell over the observation deck as the implications sank in. This wasn't a military victory in any conventional sense. It was something else entirely. A fundamental rewriting of what was possible. One of the younger coalition officers pulled up historical battle data on a nearby console. The Drac have conquered 78 worlds in the past decade. They've destroyed hundreds of coalition ships, billions of lives lost. His voice cracked slightly. And you removed them in an instant? Yes, said Commander Park simply. Why? Asked Admiral Kim, finally asking the question that had bothered him since Earth first revealed their capabilities. Why wait until now? You could have stopped this war years ago, saved countless lives. Commander Park's professional demeanor softened slightly. Because once this technology is known to exist, everything changes. The galaxy will never be the same. We needed to be certain this was the right moment, that the alternative was worse than revealing what we can do. And what exactly is it that you can do? Asked a coalition diplomat who had been silent until now. Rewrite reality? Decide who exists and who doesn't. Who made Earth the arbiter of such power? The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. The human officers didn't immediately respond, and in their silence, the fear behind the question became clear. If Earth could remove an entire fleet from existence with the push of a button, what else might they be capable of? Finally, Commander, Park spoke. No one made us the arbiters. We developed this technology to protect ourselves in a dangerous galaxy. Today we used it to protect you as well. What happens next is something we should decide together. As reports began flooding in from coalition worlds about the sudden disappearance of Drac occupation forces everywhere, not just their fleet but every Drac ship and soldier throughout coalition space, Admiral Kim realized the galaxy had entered a new era. The Drac were gone, but in their place stood humanity, a species with power beyond comprehension. Your council will want to meet with Earth's leadership immediately, Commander Park said, almost reading his thoughts. There's much to discuss about the future. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. Yes, there is. He looked out once more at the peaceful stars where moments ago thousands of warships had threatened destruction. I suspect the galaxy will never be the same. Again. No, agreed Commander Park, but perhaps it can be better.